Hey, what's up my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you my own awakening experience before and after, in hopes that it will help give you hope if you find yourself struggling through this awakening thing. In one of my recent videos, I noticed there was the top comment said something along the lines of, is anyone else having the hardest time of their life right now? And there was over 100 likes and a whole bunch of comments, which led me to believe a lot of people are struggling right now, which I can totally relate to. But sometimes I get disconnected from that because it's been a while since I felt that way. But I once did, and I want to share that with you to let you know that even though it can be tough and confusing and a lot of times very unsettling and hopeless, it will lead you somewhere beyond worthwhile. There is something to look forward to. That's why you feel that in your intuition that this all means something. It's got to mean something. It does mean something. It's helping you live a life that in your present state of consciousness are incapable of living. So you're going through all these shifts. It's going to allow you to blossom and let go sufficiently so your spirit can take hold of your life and allow it to be created from that perspective. So what I'm saying is your life is going to improve on all levels. You are going to improve on all levels. You're going to surpass whatever expectation you have of what this might turn into. It's going to become mind-blowingly awesome, but you got to hang in there. It's not always easy. So sometimes I get up here and you see me, I'm at the beach and it's like 10 in the morning and you wonder, like, what's this guy do? You know, what's his deal? He must be lucky. Well, no, it was a long process for me, and I went through a whole bunch of crazy shit just like you, and I want to share that with you so you can see, okay? Anyways, I'll get into it now. As I've shared several times in my videos, before I knew anything about spiritual awakening or Kundalini or any of the stuff I talk about, I was a heroin addict. I was a junkie. I was a down and out junkie, spiraling down hard and fast. And I eventually got arrested and went to like my 6th rehab. And that was kind of like my life culminating in a way that forced me to improve myself or die. And I chose to get on the ball, finally. So that's kind of how it began for me. So I ended up getting clean and went through a whole like self-discovery process that I wouldn't really necessarily say was very classic awakening-like, but it was a couple-year period where I got into fitness really hard, and I worked out, and I read a lot, and I meditated, and I just overcame a lot of my shyness and insecurities and social anxiety, and I stayed clean. I kicked heroin. That was when I was 19, so that was like 13, 14 years ago. Anyways, 3-4 years after when I got clean, I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening, which if you don't know what that is, I didn't at the time, which was crazy. It's like a lot of energy that we have in the base of our spine. Everyone has it. It's said anyways. Sometimes it gets released and it starts to kind of run through your body, which sounds really weird and mystical, and it kind of is weird and mystical, but it's a very tangible feeling. It's a very intense energy that there's no questioning. It's not in your imagination, and this energy started just blasting through me to the point where I thought it was going to like kill my body. I felt like my body was incapable of handling this electric-like forceful surge of energy. And at that point, I still didn't know what was happening to me. In fact, when it happened to me, I had my wife rush me to the hospital because I thought I was going to die. Fortunately, my friends came and they talked me out of going in. But anyways, so I was like, wow, I don't know what that was. That was crazy, you know. But then I woke up the next day and life seemed somewhat normal. But then that same phenomenon started to occur over and over again, randomly. I remember one time I was just sitting on my couch and practicing the guitar. And I plucked a certain chord and I had this feeling like, oh, geez, this is going to happen again, isn't it? I knew it. So I just laid on the ground and it did its thing again. So when that started to kind of happen, I felt fried. I felt physically fried by that energy. Like, whoa, It was just like too much energy for a circuit that could not handle it. And because of this, I had a lot of the classic awakening Kundalini-ish types of symptoms. I had chakra pressure, which I didn't know at the time was chakra pressure, but it was just like pooling of energy in spots in my body that caused discomfort and disorientation, especially in my forehead and my head. I eventually had to drop out of college because reading would raise that energy and pool in my mind, my brain or whatever, and I could not comprehend what I was reading. I couldn't do it. I could not go to college at that point. And there was many other weird physical symptoms. I felt exhausted all the time, and I wasn't sleeping. The energy was always doing random weirdness with me. When I'd close my eyes and attempt to go to sleep, I'd see crazy colors and visions and faces in my mind's eye. And again, in the beginning, I didn't know what was happening to me. I sensed it was something spiritual in nature, but I really didn't know. And it was just very mind-blowing that no one else talked about this. I really questioned my own sanity. Fortunately, I came into some information and read some books and came to find it was at least what I would label as best I can as a Kundalini awakening, which gave me a lot of comfort. But still, I had the symptoms. Like many of you, I felt really sensitive in public, around people. I could feel their emotions, and I just felt like incapable of managing myself and my life with this thing that was so demanding, this process. So that went on for a few years with all the crazy symptoms like that. Meaning like the really intense energy types of symptoms. And then at that point I had gotten kind of used to it to an extent. And then one day I was at a rock and roll concert, a Perfect Circle, with my wife. And during that time, I was coming into a lot of information that was very intriguing to me about the idea of a global awakening and a global ascension and the Illuminati, and that kind of stuff was like new information to me. This was back in like 2010 or something like that, 2011 maybe. And also I started to see the numbers, 1111. That's kind of what I would see, 1111 mostly. But it wasn't like so frequent. It was enough to get my attention, but not enough to not as often as I see that kind of stuff now. But all that kind of combined was like making me like really something's going on, I felt. And it kind of culminated at this concert with me and my wife. We were there, and the whole time I was there, I felt ridiculously empathic. Like I could feel people's emotions so intensely. And it was really uncomfortable because I was jam-packed with people, and a lot of the emotions I felt were very dark and almost like scary. Almost like, dude, should we like run? Should we just run out of here? It's like something's gonna happen or something, It was like really intense. And as I was watching the concert, I had like a Satori experience where I was looking out at the crowd, and in my mind, it was almost like words bubbled up from within, like they weren't even my own thoughts. It was something other, and it said, I am that. I am that I am. That's something that makes sense when you're enlightened. And as it got to the word that, I am that, it was like whoosh, an explosion of consciousness. I just expanded and became all that is for a little while. And it was just an ecstatic, mystical experience. And I had this explosion of love energy that gushed out of my heart area as well, simultaneously. And it was just like beautiful, ecstatic, blissful, divine love that was so intense and so pure that it's tough to even recapture in my mind. And it just was like my heart chakra just burst open. And after that concert, it was like I came into all this new knowledge, and these psychic abilities kind of turned on, and I felt like I was sort of enlightened for about a week there. Literally, I felt like egoless just ran by. My spirit just took charge of me, and life was just awesome and graceful, and I was just so happy and bubbly and like almost blissful for a while. And then like what happens to a lot of people who go through that, the dark night of the soul kind of hit, and my old ego kind of rebuilt itself and started causing me problems. Simultaneously, my entire life started to just break apart. My physical life. At that time, I was living in a home that my father-in-law bought, me and my wife and I, we were living in this nice brand new home, and I had a nice personal training business, and it was, on paper, life was like awesome. We were very free and abundant and supported and really not a care in the world. Had a new daughter and some kick-ass dogs, and we were just extremely happy, and it just all started to just fall apart on us. A lot of it was our own doing. We became aware suddenly that we don't like it here. We don't like the vibe. We don't like the neighbors, and the neighbors kind of turned on us. The house started having problems, and it was just like that intuition was so loud inside of us that said, you got to move. You got to get out of here. And it was like, why? Why? Really? We're just going to do that? No, that's crazy. And we wrestled with it for a short while, but it became apparent that our life was going to continue to manifest problems and almost like, not tragedies, but just really like things we could see. We got a strong sense of what was going to happen if we just stayed. It was not going to be pretty. It was a vibrational mismatch, big time. So we did. We're like, okay, we put our house on the market, which made no sense to anyone we knew. Like, dude, you just had this kid, you got it made, and you're leaving? Where are you going? I don't know where we're going. We didn't know where we were going. We knew we had to go somewhere. Our house sold real quick. I canceled all my clients and sold a lot of our belongings, and we bought a big RV and just went south. We just started to head to Florida because it was getting cold where I was living in Michigan, and it sounded appealing. And the whole time, it was like we weren't given the next step. We were given the initial step to move and to leave, and we did that, but it was like, now what? We were totally freaking out and sweating, and meanwhile, all these realizations continued to come to me about like how life was and what's happening with reality, and it was just so much to take in, man. So much for my mind to process. And for a little while there, my wife wasn't going through it to the extent as me, so it really kind of freaked her out a little bit. She's kind of on board now. We're both kind of, I would say, at the same level, if you want to look at it like that. But it was very scary, wallowing in such an extreme state of unknown. But eventually we got ourselves nice and settled. We rented a house in South Florida, right near the beach, and I wasn't working at the time, and it's what I call the Hermit Phase. The Hermit Phase is a point in a lot of people's journey where you find that maybe you're not working, and it's just, you don't want to be around people. At this point I felt like super sensitive physically to other people's energy and emotions, to the point where I couldn't really be around them, quite honestly. It would just drain me too much. And there was a lot of different changes going on with my diet. I stopped eating meat, and then I stopped eating eggs, and I like really purified my diet to a really crazy degree, at least in my mind. I became a strict raw vegan for a while, and just started drinking all this like this dechlorinated water. I had this special water filter, and I felt like I took a bunch of supplements to open my pineal gland. There was just a lot of inner experimentation. I was practicing lucid dreaming and astral travel, and I just like psychically on overdrive, I felt. But again, I was very unbalanced, and I felt unproductive, and it was very hard to explain to people, what are you up to, Vic? You sold your home abruptly, without warning. You moved down to Florida. You rented this big house that you can't really afford. You're not working. What's the plan? That was so frustrating to me, because I felt in my heart it was what I needed to be doing, but I couldn't explain it to other people, not even myself. So it was we got a lot of judgment there, and I can see why. On the surface, it seemed freaking nuts what we were doing. But there's glimpses of complete and utter faith that this is what is supposed to happen. It's all working out. And I would get little glimpses of the connection, enough, not as much as I would prefer, but enough to where I kept going in that direction, as stressful as it was. And I just had, the symptoms were horrible. I felt super, like more tired than ever. I couldn't really lift weights or anything, which I love to do. And I was doing a lot of like yoga, Bikram yoga, and I was just very tired, very irritable, very sensitive, a lot of the chakra problems, and it was a really, even though we were living in Florida and I wasn't working, and on the surface it was kind of like a vacation, it didn't feel that way. I wasn't really able to enjoy it because of how nervous I felt about the situation we were in. And then eventually, that whole Florida situation started breaking down the exact same way as the breakdown happened before, where our house started having problems. It was almost like a veil had lifted, and I suddenly could see our situation in a totally different light, and it was like, yeah, now it's obvious that you got to leave here too. And just when it's time to move on, your life starts to kind of kick you out, break down in all ways. Just you manifest problems and circumstances that have a synchronicity type of aura to them, where you're like, like you're getting them, your life is giving you a message, but it's like, oh geez, I gotta leave again. Unfortunately, the idea to go back to where we left from, back home to Michigan, that's what we knew it was time to do. It had a similar tone of excitement, like, yeah, okay, that started to seem so appealing to us. But the breakdown happened so fast that it was very nerve-wracking. It was like our life was going to just gobble us up if we didn't leave like immediately. It really felt that way. Just like our lives started to turn on us. So we left sort of prematurely and abruptly again, where we had like a month and a half left of our lease, and we lost our security deposit. We broke our lease. But it was such a sense of urgency that we just had to get out of there. But again, we didn't know why we were going to Michigan. We didn't know what we were going to do there. We just knew we were to go there, and that was the next step. And like what happens a lot, we got there, and it was, okay, now what? I didn't know. And we were just like living in this RV for a while, and winter was approaching, so we knew we had to get an apartment or something. And we had a pit bull at the time, and we couldn't find an apartment. It was very stressful. We were like, what is happening, man? This is bullshit. You're led here to Michigan. Now what? It's getting cold. We're not going to have a place to live pretty soon. Thank you, Awakening. Thanks. I feel like such an idiot for following my guidance at that time. It seemed like I'm just freaking losing my mind. This is leading me nowhere. We had a beautiful home, then we left it, and we were in Florida, and that was cool. We left that too, and here we are, worse off than ever, years later. And again, all that while I was going through feeling like the collective shifts and super affected on all levels by the moon. Every moon cycle was a dread. Like, oh my God, I could feel like a week in advance. The moon's coming. What's this about now? And Mercury retrograde and all of this started to really just affect me. And I never felt balanced or stable or really even content that often. And that was a tough time too. And then right as we were about to run out of money, we eventually got an apartment. It was like kind of a crappy one though. We didn't want to live there for very long. Anyway, I got the idea to the same sort of, when the time was needed, I had the idea. This new idea was to start a gym, open up a gym. And as what happens a lot, just in the nick of time, I had all these different synchronicities, and I bought a program that kind of taught me how to do it, and I just sort of modeled these other people I watched, and I taught myself how to build a gym and market it and build websites. It was all fun though. It was all like a labor of love, and I was very excited and passionate about it. And just as we were about to run out of money, I started to get clients and stuff, so it kind of worked out. And I was able to build the gym up pretty quickly, and it became relatively successful, and we ended up buying a house. And then one of my clients asked if I wanted to grow medical marijuana with him, and I was like, oh wow, because I did that in the past. So I had started this whole new joint venture with this guy, and it was really fun. He's a cool guy, and he had some cool friends, and it was a really exciting time. We had this big investor, and we had this massive warehouse that we got to just play around in and make this huge grow operation. I had my gym going. We had this nice house, and I was like, all right. Now, thank you. I see what this is. This is perfect. Thank God. I made it, finally. Done. And then, no, it all happened again. The same breakdown phase. Like, oh no. By that time, I knew what this all meant, but I was like, now what? Now where the hell are we going? I kind of knew, but the idea of that just seemed too far-fetched. I had an undeniable urge to get onto YouTube and be like a YouTube guy and have an online business, because I realized owning a gym and tending to I like growing marijuana, but tending to a lot of big plants, and it was more of a lot of physical labor and stress when things would go wrong. It wasn't like as I had imagined it. Neither were. And I had some semblance of freedom compared to a lot of people would say, but it was very tiring, and I was not in the greatest health because I stretched myself too thin. But on paper, it still was not a bad life. I felt like kind of a jerk for feeling ungrateful and wanting something else, but that was an undeniable want I had. And I wanted to get onto YouTube, and I also wanted to move to San Diego. A couple years prior to that, we had taken a vacation to San Diego, and we knew it was our place. We knew we were destined to go there, and that's where our lives were headed. But it was always like someday you'll be on YouTube, someday you'll get to San Diego. But it seemed like 5-10 years down the road, the way we were looking at it, quite honestly. But it was like it came time to go. It came time to go. What does that imply? Well, it implies you've got to close your gym down. You got to tell your partner you're done growing. You got to get your kids out of the school. You got to tell your friends and family who are so happy that you're back that you're leaving again. With the same crazy intuitive notion that you can't even explain. What are you going to do in San Diego? I got this YouTube channel with like 5,000 subscribers. How are you going to support yourself? Well, I have faith. At that time, I didn't have faith. It seemed freaking ludicrous what was being asked of me. But the intuition was there. I knew what was going to happen. By that time, I've seen the way this cycle plays out. But by that time, it's been so long that I was like, dude, this is such bullshit. This is not a life. This is nuts. All this breakdown and then exhausting myself to build up a life just to have it crumble again. What is this? So I said no. I said, I'm not going. Screw San Diego, screw YouTube, not going to do it. Goodbye, go away. I told my awakening and my spirit guides and my higher self to get the hell out of my life. You just caused me nothing but stress and havoc. But they never left. They wouldn't leave me alone. They just came and bugged me even more. They said, "Lo," in a sense. I say that in a weird way, like as if they're talking to me. My intuition primarily is what I'm speaking of. Things would remind me of the fact that I'm not on my path. I would hear the song Pink Floyd, "Wish You Were Here," and I knew that was like California in a sense was saying that. San Diego synchronicities up the wazoo. Song Hotel California would come on every freaking day somehow. I was being called out there. I was having these dreams of basically laying out for me that you gotta go and you gotta go now. I know what it means. I know you're scared, but you're fine. You just don't think you're fine. You do it now. No, I wouldn't do it. I battled with myself so intensely. I held on about as long as possible. I would be kept up at night with this ball in my stomach of stress. I knew it was time to do all this, but it was so scary. And this is the hardest part of my awakening at this point. But I felt like there was no choice, and I did it. Closed down my gym, got out of the marijuana thing, put our house up for sale, bought a small little travel trailer, and sure enough, we headed out to San Diego yet again into the unknown. And just like it happened every other time, I stressed and I fretted and I worried. And just in the nick of time, so razor thin, everything worked out. My YouTube channel just started to kind of take off. I had this one video last December that went kind of viral, and I just got a lot of subscribers. Started getting them a lot quicker, and I started to sell information programs online that made a little, not much money honestly, but enough to keep us afloat. And everything started to kind of improve. I felt like synchronistically assisted in a sense, and my channel kept growing, and I started coaching people and just creating other programs, and I started to kind of be able to sustain ourselves, me and my family financially, and we upgraded into a nice big fifth wheel now, and I have just a really awesome life, a life that I literally could not have fathomed or even conceived of at the start. If I was to say what would be the best case scenario, I would not have come close to where I'm actually already at now. And it's not ending. I'm not ascended, I'm not awakened. It's just a constant. upgrade, expansion on all levels. My life on the surface is very awesome. I have a loving wife and some nice children. I live in, I feel like this is my home. San Diego might not be perfect for everyone, but for me it's a perfect match. I get to come to the beach almost every day, which I love. I get to kind of make my own hours and work with awesome people like you from all over the world. It's a blessing. And that's just like the surface level stuff. What even way more important than that is just how I feel. How much, essentially, just so much acceptance of who I am, my shortcomings and my limitations, people in general, just what's happening. I just feel like I just easily accept things now. I just have a natural acceptance for most things that used to really bother me. A lot of my relationships have come around full circle. For many years, I felt like constantly triggered by like my family, and it was just an uncomfortable experience to be around them, quite honestly. But my parents were just here a few days ago. They stayed a week here in San Diego, and it was a triggerless experience. It was just a wonderful time. It really was on all levels, because I had unloaded all of the stuff that attracted versions of them that created the emotional stress. It was just like there's just an acceptance now, and it was wonderful. I don't need people to change. I don't need the world to change, because I have changed the way I relate with it. And in that, there is peace and just serenity, man. It feels very good. Now, I still feel the collective shifts just like you, but to a far more tolerable and manageable degree, much more in a fine-tuning sort of way, rather than everything breaking down and insanity and things going haywire. It's more like, maybe you should stop eating this because it's causing you to be out of alignment, and I'll catch a cold, and then it's like, okay, and that was a good decision. It's more, the energies are still there, they're still having their way with me, but a lot of the big stuff is out of the way, and I can, in a sense, rest and enjoy life now. And I can see my story in so many of you, in your comments, and just talking to you in your emails, just working with you. I see it. And I just wanted to make this video to let you guys know that it does get better. You'll get to a point where you don't need it to end. You won't want it to end, because even the fact that it's crazy now is just, it's helping you live a life that you couldn't have lived on your own. It's like your higher spirit self is coming in and helping you create a life that is just awesome. And not just a life, but a state of being that is at peace. And I know what it's like to feel the way you guys feel and are going, and what the things you're going through I relate with. And I totally understand your perspective, saying, to hell with this. This is nuts. This is so frustrating. And I felt that way too, but I've seen it through long enough to know that it really does have your best interest at heart, and you're gonna just continue to improve very, very quickly, and your life is just gonna get better and better and better and better and better and better and better. You're gonna feel better and better and better and more at peace. All the situations that seem maybe impossible to deal with, you're gonna find ways to deal with it. As you expand, you get ideas that you couldn't have gotten had you not expanded, and those ideas will help you clean up whatever you perceive to be a mess in your life. I had a big one, a big pile, and once you do that, it's like, thank you. There'll just be a level of trust and acceptance that I can't even put into words. I feel so happy, and my life is so much better now. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys, because I know how hard it can be. And I reflect on my story all the time, but I never kind of put it into a chronological order like this. So hopefully it will help you. It's my hope that it gives you hope, something to look forward to. And can maybe, if anything, just improve your day just today. And to have you make a decision to keep trying one more day. And that's all it takes, man. One day at a time, one moment at a time. The dark night comes to an end. I'm gonna bounce, my friends. Have an amazing day. I will see you soon. Namaste.